Welcome to tutorial 2, which is now how to design your sheet and how to separate them into certain ways. So the first thing we're going to do is look at how we're going to set the sheet up, and all sheets need to have certain things. They need to have a space where you need to introduce a sheet, explain why it's in there. If you can't explain why something is in your design folder, then really it shouldn't be in there because it has no purpose. But if you can, you need to explain what the purpose is. So it could be, for example, this is my research sheet and I'm researching whatever it is that you're researching from here, and that's actually what I'm going to do in this session, is just show you how to do the research sheets. And we also use the rule of thirds, so it basically looks better when there's things that are 3 to a page rather than 4, all those sort of things from there. So how do we divide the page up into equal parts? Well, it's actually quite easy. What we're going to do is, you can see that I've updated as well some of the borders and just added a few things in the logo. You can do that in your own time, really. It's just using the slide master, but on this one we're just going to show you how to divide the page up. So the layout is quite important. Remember, it's showing you in your light, so if it looks scruffy, if it looks a mess, that's what the moderator is going to pick up from your work about you. So you want it to be precise, neat, tidy, well presented all the time. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do then is to draw a rectangle into this part here. So I'm going to go to Insert, click onto Shapes, and the same as we've done down there. Now with this one, because we've got to put titles on, I'm not going to use the rectangular or the round cornered rectangle. I'm going to use just a normal square rectangle. I'm just going to draw one piece there, and then I'm just going to copy it. So Control C and Control V will copy it, and I'm just going to place it next to it, but just use my cursor key and put the little list of gaps in between. Now you'll see why in a second. I'm going to do the same again and just move that with my cursor key just to give me that same sort of thing in gaps in between. Okay, so the next stage, what I'm going to do is literally group these together. So I've just highlighted them all, so I just literally click off the side of the page, highlight them all, right mouse click, and if you want, let me do it from there. So if I do it again here, right mouse click now, so I'm actually on there, and it's got this command here called group. So if I group them, you'll notice all these dots around each individual item will change to be a dot around the one. So if I group them, there we go. So you can see we've got the dots on the outside of here. Now these just allow us to stretch and rotate, etc. But what I am going to do now is literally blank these out and put those as black. Now what I've got to do to divide the page into 3, once I've done that, is just literally click onto the side and just drag it across, and it should divide the page equally into 3. And if you find that there's too much of a gap between them, all we need to do is just double click onto them and then group, ungroup, and if we ungroup them, what we can do then is sort out where we want these pages to be. So I could move them a bit nearer if that's the case, and a bit nearer still on here, and then I can go back to grouping them and then stretching them again. So if I just group, click, right mouse click, group, and then stretch that to fit in. That's a lot better. And you'll need the title on the page, so I can just move these down now, and if I need a conclusion on the page, which I will, I'll just move that up, and that's ready for our information to do with the joints. So when you're writing the titles, again, the titles need to be the same throughout. So however I start writing the titles now, I just copy and paste and carry them through the same font, etc. So on this one, I'm actually going to follow the theme here, and I'm just going to go to Insert, and this time click onto the rounded shape, which is here, and I'm going to draw my box across, change it so it's black, and I'm just going to type in research, and I'm going to use this in capital letters. So research, okay, and this is going to be research page 1, and you could do page 1, page 2. You can change this if you decide to change the layout of it. So today I'm just going to call it research, or researching possible wood joints. And that's all I need. I don't need to go all the way across, but what does look better is if you just send it across to this way. So if we just go back to home and then click onto the indent left, so you can see we've got these down here. So that's the center. This one here is a line left, a line right, and justify. We use justify a lot when we're typing. And then from that point of view, all I'm going to do then, just make that so it sort of fits in. And then we're ready to go with this bit. Now if you don't like what you've done there, what you need to do is just double click at some point and just change it. So I'm going to put this back to being white with the text being black, just so it blends in. And we're ready to move on to this next bit. So what I can do next is just go to insert, click into shapes, and these are going to be for each one of your joints that you've done. So if I just click onto rectangles, and I can start in that corner and just draw the line going through. So there it is. And from there, I will do this one black though. And this one is going to be the mitre joint. So we're not going to do the butt joint first of all, because it's pointless using that one. And we've got other joints we can use. So I'm just going to now move that home, move that to the left. So we know that this one's to do with the mitre joint. Let's try again then, Control C, Control V. So we can move that now into this one. And of course they're all going to be the same size because we've done it the way that we've done it and stretched them. So this one's now not going to be the mitre joint. This one will be, after the mitre joint was the rebate joint, or the lap joint as people call it. So I might just do call it a lap. And then the third one that we did after that one is the comb joint, or the finger joint. So we're going to call it a comb joint, or we could actually put the two comb joint. Now the reason we're doing this as well is because, as well as getting something ready to go into your folder, it's also good practice to recap over what we've done. So you can use these notes that we're going to create from here about the advantages and disadvantages for your exam. So you can use these as revision notes. So in a sense, we're learning what's going to be on the exam. We're creating revision notes for later on so we can read through, so we can get the stuff right on the exam. And of course this can go into your Year 11 folder, your final folder. So you're generating work from there, as well as using PowerPoint, which again is another good skill when you actually go into the world of work. The advantage of DT really as well is you've got a portfolio now, so you can take this to interview. So when you go for an interview and they say, tell me about you, you've got this portfolio you can produce and say, well actually I've just made this, and you can start talking through, and that's something that other people won't have. That might give you the edge that over somebody else having something that you've made that shows that you've solved problems, and you've started with a problem and you've worked right the way through to a solution that you've evaluated. And that's a very, very strong skill to take into any interview, whether it's for an apprenticeship, for employment, or even just for sixth form. Even if it's nothing to do with DT, you're not going on to further design, technology or engineering courses, problem solving skills are still very critical for any industry. Okay, so we're going to duplicate this page now for the other one. So what I'm going to do from there is just right mouse click onto duplicate slides. So I've now got two, and then all I'm going to do, very simple, is change these now. So the next one that we did would be a mortise and tenon joint. The middle one will be a corner bridle joint. And the last one is a dowel joint. and of course most joints can be doweled, but we're going to put this one as a separate one, so dowel joint. And we're pretty much ready to go. Now each one will have a conclusion at the bottom here, or a summary, and like I say, every page needs to have a summary, so we may as well put one of those on now. So I'm just going to go to insert my text box, fit my text box down here somewhere. Now when you're actually doing things that aren't a title, you shouldn't use more than 12 as a point, because otherwise when we print it off it's like reading a car number plate, it's that big, and 12 is a standard size to be read, and we're not trying to fool the examiner into thinking we got more sheets and more work just because we're using a bigger fonts. They're a bit more intelligent than that, and so you've got to give them the sort of respect that they deserve. So don't start writing in size font 14 or 18 or whichever it may be. Title's fine, but the substance, the actual things that you write, must be in 12. So I'm just going to make this one 12 at the bottom. Put conclusion there, so it reminds me that I need to write a conclusion, and I'll just make that bold as well. Okay, and I'll just level that one up, which it is, and I'll transfer that one onto this page as well while I think about it. For some reason it's not copying, so let's try it one last time. I'm pressing the wrong button, that's why. Control C, Control V, there we go. And we've got these bits set up. So that's now 2 of your sheets ready to start populating, and the next stage is to draw the joints out so you get marks for your CAD work, and that also helps you learn 2D design. We need to insert your photographs, and so what that gives you points for is, first of all, that you've actually done the joints, so you get marks for it being a what we call a primary source. You've physically done it, you've got the photos of it, so you can talk about that, which is good. And you also get marks for using digital cameras as well as doing the actual practical. So all this is adding up to getting you into those top tiers of the folder. So it's just about knowing what to look for. So the more IT we use, the digital photographs and various other things, the fact you've actually took photos of real things you've done, primary research, this is all good evidence to start in that folder off looking for the 9s and the 8s. So the next stage will be to add the drawings for the joints, which we'll look at in the next sort of video, because you will need access to 2D design there. You don't necessarily have to draw it with 2D design, you could sketch it by hand, but 2D design is probably the easiest way to go with this.